I'm gonna go ahead and just talk about my experience over the last hour. um, let's see. So I'll start with eating. It was the last thing I did. Um, I'm gonna have to think about it for a second because obviously it's not in words yet. Let's see here. So understanding that, like, listening to Chael P. Sonnen and Jake Paul. That's what I was listening to while I was eating. Jake Paul has a press conference with Anderson Silva, who is a world champion UFC fighter. For a
Hmm.
long ass time, long time. Have you heard of Anderson Silva? You probably have. You know, done.
I believe it or not, I had watched a video with him mentioned just earlier today.
Yeah, yeah, not surprising. Synchronicities are off the fucking chain again over the last month. But so yeah,
So, what did Jake Paul fight him or something?
no, he is fighting him soon. There is a press
That's
conference.
fine.
Just them talking before the fight. And Chael Sonnen, the guy who I sent you, that's the guy. Did you watch the short I sent you of the guy talking to Joe Rogan? He's like, Joe, this is your
Yeah,
moment. How do you feel? That yeah, that's Chael Sonnen. So all three of those guys who you now have seen, very recently, they were doing a press conference, and I was listening to it while eating dinner. And anyways, just understanding that something is like mundane, something is just like menial as that. Understanding exactly what that means, understanding that each one of them is individually reaching for the divine taste with every word that comes out of their mouth. Understanding that me listening to it is reaching for the divine taste. That me eating the cheeseburger that I'm eating while listening to it is me reaching for the divine taste. Eating the feeling of all of that simultaneously, consuming it as unlimited beauty, while understanding that it is reaching towards something greater than myself. Like, it's wild. It is wild the level of just in relation to God that you can truly reach with just the one sentence of "an ego is to taste." And it's so I'm already feeling the classic cracks that I feel at the edge of a framework, in the sense that it's one thing, one sentence, which means 400 million things. It means so much. There's so much context packed into this little fucking sentence that I can already feel the fact that if I don't get all of it down, if I don't get every little nuance of this framework down onto paper before it breaks, you know what I mean? That's the classic. That's how frameworks always end once I get them to this point. Is you get it all down into one thing, and then that one thing holds too much context. You just go, time passes, you get distracted by something eventually, and then you know what I mean. You took a week off, and now you realize, oh, you can't get back. You don't understand how to get back anymore. You don't understand what you had, and you don't understand how you can get back to what you had. So it's like right now, I just need to be getting all of it down, and just understanding that, like, me writing these notes, me just typing things on Voxer, understanding that, like, that is reaching for the divine. I like the show. Yeah, yeah. This, I sort of like this concept is so huge that it makes me feel like I'm on sub one again as far as language goes. Good- I will be. Um, but understanding that it's there's so many things that I want to talk about that I yet again feel like I'm on sub one, where it's like I go to speak and then I've stopped from speaking by having 40 things that will come into my mouth at the exact same time. So I'm just gonna skip right now to Peggy. All right, Peggy is the bitch who I had to call to get my job at Walmart. Um, and just understanding that, like, the supreme dominance that I had over Peggy, and understanding what that came from, was understanding that every word that came out of Peggy's mouth, right, every single thing which she could possibly say, she has no clue, but each word that comes out of her mouth is her reaching for the divine taste, and I understand that, and I understand that I'm reaching towards the divine taste, and because I understand that I'm reaching for the divine taste, I understand that what I think of myself as myself is simply a sacrifice reaching towards that divine taste. So I understand that I am God in this moment, that I am not this. This is just a sacrifice, and that I am currently eating this sacrifice as a morsel to myself. So I understand that I am God, and Peggy does not understand that she is God. And every word which comes out of Peggy's mouth is her striving for her to be God, but she has no fucking clue. right? And I understand the entire dynamic of the universe behind my eyeballs, and she's talking about my Walmart job. You know what I mean? And it's like that perfectly summarizes this framework. Is it's just like you understand everything. You understand every person around you. You understand exactly why they're doing what they're doing. You understand why leaves fall from trees. It's like it goes back to this thing I was saying when I was on Tobam, which is it is the answer to every question you could possibly come up with. Why is that tree falling from why is the leaf falling from that tree? Well, the answer is because an ego takes. The answer is literally only because God is reaching towards this. God is reaching towards difference. It's God reaching towards the best taste. And us, whenever we do anything, all of our actions, it's us reaching for the best taste. It's us reaching towards God. So it's like every question can always be answered by an egoist taste. It's all one thing. Every single thing that you see is all a product of that one statement. And when you understand the weight of that statement, you eat. Like there's no other choice. It's just like you're skipping straight. It like one of the things I said in Boxer was an egoist taste is the sledgehammer you smash against your brain every time it makes a noise. Because it's like literally every time it makes a peep, it's like you're playing whack-a-mole. You just fucking obliterate it with this massive thought, the massive weight, which puts everything into perspective immediately. It's all of the context of everything we've ever come up with in like 5 fucking words. It is ridiculous. Um, yeah, yeah. Um,
Whack-a-mole with the ego. That's a good description for it. But yeah, that's a very good just principle overall. Just to I guess advertise to other people is just in principle that you can get something that the mind would see as completely mundane and normal and still find infinite complexity and intricacies and meaning in that random thing, regardless of what it may be simply because it is an act of God finding God.
and here's another, dude. I've had, as you, I'm sure you've seen with the Voxer, I've had a million fucking ideas in the last few days. But another one of them is this is a really really good idea. Is that eating comes from you being smashed between the two poles, and so the two poles are um God reaching towards Zix and Zix reaching towards God, right? So those are the two poles, right? And eating is whenever you're smashed in between the two of them, and you perfectly understand that you are Zix eating God, and you are God eating Zix. And the middle is when it forms a bubble of complete and total silence as you just revel in every little detail of reality. Um, also another
That
one
is
too.
a that,
Go ahead.
that is a similar thought that I was having just the other day. I feel like we're very, very, very parallel right now.
I mean, this is how it always is. It literally, wherever, like, no matter where one of us goes in the thought texture domain, the other one will be forcibly yanked by a hook in their mouth to that exact same place. Like, it is
Yeah.
absurd. But so when do you think about doing sub one? Because I'm sure it's gonna mix very, very well with these discoveries.
Um. Yeah. Soon. I think Friday
Fascinating.
or this weekend in general.
Yeah, yeah, fascinating, fascinating. Yeah, definitely, definitely. Let me know how that goes.
So
Keep me
what'll
updated.
be interesting is that I'm going to Mimi's by myself for a few days right afterwards. So I'll kind of have like a retreat, from most of my normal life,
Yeah, that will
which
be
will be
very fascinating, especially because Mimi is like the most base person in our family, as far as like she at least understands
yeah,
the simple concept of be here now, and it's like that's a bigger head start than anyone else we know. So it's very interesting.
yeah, leagues ahead of most people.
Yeah,
Yeah, so it'll be just nice to just chill there and reflect on whatever happened.
yeah, that dude. That's the thing is I'm still left picking up like the pieces from that sub one experience of just like it was trying to cope with a million different brilliant ideas, each of them at the exact same time, and just trying to be like, how am I ever going to get this out? And it's like for days now, days after the experience, I'm still just trying to write them all down. It is baffling. I mean,
But
it is baffling. But
right
also
now,
too, go ahead.
it's like there's so much going on. It's almost very comparable to sub one. So it's like I do feel a little bit of like resistance to sub one in the sense that I feel like I don't feel like I feel very almost as if someone has already happened. I feel almost out of control of just how so much is going on. I want to be able to be in that state where I am completely on top and in control of all of that energy, and then be able to go into someone. Once I organize all of this, I
Yeah,
feel like
yeah. I know exactly what you're talking about. But I will say, for me personally, it did feel like I finally felt like that. And then the second sub one touched me, it was just like, oh, you need to rethink every bit of the thing which you had organized. Here's a million other wrenches to throw into that organization which you had before. Here's a million other ideas that you now need to integrate. And immediately the entire sub one experience became integration. There is that. Honestly, in the future, I do think I'm going to not try to use it as like before I tried to use it as like, oh, my framework's done. Now I can enjoy sub one. Now I think forever on in my future, I'm going to use sub one as a farthering of my ideas. And the days after are going to be the like reaping the reward. The days after sub one are the like lays around and just
Well, I agree that I don't aim to try to complete anything. Obviously, the experience is going to be in the
but I know
progression of that.
I just mean in particular it was an idea that I had that I needed to get my framework in order before I went into sub one so that I could properly enjoy sub one. And now it's like I realized that like you aren't even capable of running a framework during sub one because you're so busy dealing with a million different ways to improve your framework. You know what I mean? It's like you're bestowed with so many little ideas that you can't even like all of the organization that you had before immediately goes out the window. But I do know exactly what you're talking about. Just a wanting and I had the same exact thing and but mine also fell apart at the last second. Like my dirt bike broke and like I had like perfect days before and then the last day was just sort of iffy. There will always the last day before you go in, someone will always make you question if it's the right day to do it. Like every single time, there's no way getting around that. No matter what
Yeah,
day you set it for.
there's always
Oh
50-50 perfect and imperfect.
yeah, yeah, for real. Yes, that's a very good way of putting it because it's like you'll have 2 hours of just shit and then 2 hours of like, oh no, hey, I got it, and then another 2 hours of shit, and you're just like, I don't even know what to make of this. This is such ups and downs, and
Yeah.
it's because the pressure of the sub one experience and everything else. It's something else. But yeah, so. You said you've been going through a ton of different experiences. Any examples per se?
I've just been doing a mixture of research in compilation with mixing it with our previous ideas. I've been looking into Greek philosophy, specifically like Plato, Heraclitus.
Give me anything
Um,
on Plato you can find. I'm gonna need to do a Plato deep dive whenever I'm done with Zarathustra, because
yeah. I'm really enjoying those guys. The Greeks, yeah, they got that stuff. They got that stuff down pretty good. Um, uh, and they'll have their linguistic differences here and there, but overall, just like they were logos. That was a word I've been looking into recently. Pneuma, psyche, soma.
you know what's fascinating? I literally thought about naming a framework Acid Logos yesterday, I think it was, and I don't even have any like relation to that concept. I was just thinking of new framework names, and that's the one that popped in my head,
Wait,
which
really?
is bizarre. Yeah,
Yesterday?
yeah. It was either yesterday or the day before, but
Uh,
I'm pretty sure it was yesterday.
that's,
But
um,
we're gonna say,
but yeah, in general, it's been just funny. The logos was been definitely a big part of it, and also looking into the ouroboros, the history of the ouroboros. Apparently, that goes back all the way to ancient Egypt, and is also being currently utilized by coders to form AI by the process of eating itself creates
oh,
AI,
that's
and it
very
also
cool. No,
creates
yeah,
the
I see.
it all yeah, and it also creates the universe, and it creates us, and it creates AI. And I'm thinking that could be a tie into the story. We could tie that into the story somehow. Um,
Oh, well, I mean, it kind of already.
Ouroboros. I mean,
So yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh God, this starts getting so complex. Like the way the story is now like encapsulated within an egoist taste. Dude, an egoist taste holds literally everything we've ever thought of before in our entire lives is held within that statement. It is absurd, absurd, absurd how
well,
much
so
shit fits in there. But
I don't know. I understand the connotations of taste. Just what do you think of this concept of just the ego is to eat? Is there any particular reason why you don't use that, considering it's an alliteration and we use eat to mean eat itself?
if you look through the Voxer, you'll see I actually did call it that. Um, specifically, it's funny because it was an alliteration, and that I could, in letters, summarize it down into EE, which I found was easier. Just ego eat. Um, but the reason that I decided against it ultimately isn't because there's anything wrong with it or for any logical reason. It's literally just because, to me, the words "an ego is to taste" are the only words which are properly branded with the fucking mania that I felt at the time of thinking them. And I need to go into that
Right.
as well.
Yeah.
But genuinely, that is the only reason. It's not because it's the best words for it, because they're objectively kind of shit words for it. As far as taste means two things. It means both to taste. It means both to strive towards tasting. It means that an ego is to reach. Also, that's another thing, is to say that it's to like well, I mean, eat kind of has the same problem as taste. But anyways, there is definitely a problem with taste as far as because it means both to taste better, to be the thing which strives towards better taste, which is the thing which is striving towards God, and it also means to be um uh uh damn, I did too much subject area just now. Um but that kicked in fucking hard, Jesus. It also means to be tasted, right? It means both to taste, to be the taster, to try to taste things better, and it also means to be tasted, to be eaten by God, to be consumed, to be the sacrifice. So it means two
So
different
it's got the
things.
double meaning,
Yeah, yeah, it does.
and eat doesn't have that.
Well, taste. I mean, I guess you're right. Taste kind of is better than eat. I guess. But there's definitely could be a better word than taste. At least, I know that much, but I don't know what it is. And taste, like I said, has the branding of the maniac. Now,
I I,
I, go ahead.
I definitely think I think for the philosophically inclined, eat and taste is definitely good. I just wonder how and what the thought textures will possibly spark up in a person that doesn't know what we're
Oh yeah,
talking about.
yeah.
What eat and taste means to in regards to the universe. Like it's gonna be very, very weird.
Oh yeah, yeah. Absolutely. They are the closest words we have in language, as far as like. In other words, there's no word which means to listen to music, and to listen to music is another thing which is damn near equivalent, where it's something which you do only for the thought texture that it creates. But there is no word which means to listen to music. So eat is like the closest thing to mean to do something specifically for a thought texture. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Um, but uh, but so yeah, the mania. I really want to talk about this. It really felt like I was going fucking insane, and it was not good for like um for a good duration of it, a solid hour to 2 hours. And by not good, I mean like very uncomfortable. Um, Only way I know how to explain it is to get back into colors, um, where it was very gray and red, like scary. I don't know, like well, I mean the main thing which I was thinking about was just Bernardo Kastrup's quote that Nietzsche was. So here were it was a bunch of things I was thinking about. One of them was just the fact that like I couldn't shut up. My brain couldn't shut up. It just couldn't be silent for 2 seconds straight. And it was getting on my nerves. Like the classic sub one feeling, or even like you explained it, the COVID feeling of just like making a pattern is just inherently annoying. It's just like shut the fuck up. I want to look at the trees. You know what I mean? Um and
Hmm.
uh and it became, but it was that also mixed with, like I said, the Bernardo Castro quote, which is Nietzsche tried to take the weight of humanity on his back, and it was too much basically, and it was like those two things combining into me just being like, I don't want to do this. Like I don't want to keep. But basically, it was another feeling was the feeling of just like disappointment, extreme disappointment with humanity, and just the feeling of just like I don't want to be your savior anymore. I mean, like I don't care about fixing the issues that you've created anymore. I don't want to spend my all my days thinking anymore. I want to spend my days appreciating. You know what I mean? It's just like I want to be done trying to form patterns, and I want to just love the patterns as they're here. And it was all of these thoughts manifesting as the way they do in Sub One, which is just an extreme thought texture hurricane. Um, and basically it was like I said, like I just wanted to stop thinking and start being, and then it came to me. Multiple things came to me, and one of them was that the Eastern canon was about shutting the fuck up, and the Western canon was about talking. Basically, it was about you're always going to be asking why, all right? And the Eastern canon was about how to stop. It was like I'm done asking why. I'm done. And the Western canon was about getting to the end of why, finding the end of why and going past why, right? That's what the Western canon was about. The Western canon was about trying to think so hard that you got past the question of why. Where the Eastern canon was trying to stop thinking so you didn't have to think about why. And those were the two different courses basically that you could take. And then I understood in that moment, I understood that what I was trying to do, what we were trying to do, was find the thought which could stop thinking. That's the mix. That's the mix between the two religions. Is to find the thought, find how to think so goddamn hard that you stop thinking. And then it just pounded me over the fucking head. And ego is to taste. And in that moment, immediately, I understood that this is the thought. This is the thought. This is the why. This is the answer to the question why. This is the thing which obliterates thinking. There is no more why after the statement. It's done. It's done. All metaphysics is done. All thinking is done. All asking why is done. Now it's time to be. And then it came again multiple thoughts from this point. But one of them was the right brain octopus in the audiobook that I was listening to. Also, bro, there's another quote that I just screen recorded, which was that like they understood. It was talking about the life form which possessed people. They understood that to experience the beauty of difference, they needed to let you be you. So it's like it's a life form which took over minds, right? And basically, in the book, the life form came to the conclusion that for it to experience difference, for it to experience novelty, it needed to leave people alive and stop taking them over and exist in companionship with them, right? To be to work symbiotically, basically, was what it decided on. And but anyways, the description he gave was literally the perfect description of the relationship between the universe and people, where it's like it understood that it needed to let you be you, so it could experience what it is like to be you. Was like the basic explanation he gave, and it was like fucking perfect for just the universe. But anyways, that guy's great. Adrian Tchaikovsky, you got to read the fucking books. They're ungoddamn
I have
believable. Is what they are. Go ahead.
in general. Have you noticed overall like the increase in
Yes,
like
media
stuff like
portraying
that
religious
in more
ideas.
media?
Yes, absolutely,
I was
absolutely. I have.
listening. I was listening to just some random rap song that was I had found on someone had mentioned on Reddit, and it was an 8 minute rap song that
Dude,
was extremely good.
My Discover Weeklies are 90% religious music at this point. And I mean like dubstep, which says things like expand the universe, and that's the like main chorus is expand the universe. And at the end it says universe means one song. And then it like gave a religious diatribe about that. And it's just like this is dubstep. What are you
No
this is a
way.
yeah,
Wait,
it's fucking
I was literally the other day researching what did the universe mean, and specifically people's theories on what it meant, as in one verse of a
yeah,
lyric or a poem, or a
yeah,
verse as in turning
yeah.
something over
I
or
had a
rolling it
dubstep.
into one.
I had a dubstep song explain that exact fucking thing to me, but it was a dubstep
That's
song,
amazing.
and I was just like, "What? What the fuck? What is this? You know what I mean? How are you even doing this? How is my Discover Weekly? How does my Discover Weekly not understand my musical theory, but it understands my religion? What's going on here? What is the YouTube algorithm doing to me?" Um, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, and that's
I was
fucking
listening to
insane.
this like a 9 minute rap song, and it was truly a work of art. I would recommend just meditating on it. Just the rhymes he makes is completely incredible, and it just ends all of a sudden on, "Hey guys, here's how to transcend samsara and achieve nirvana." And it's like, dang, bro, it's like, why are you throwing that at the end there? Like, it happens all the time.
Most
It's
definitely
so
send that
many
to me.
places.
But yes, agreed, absolutely. Everywhere I fucking look, everywhere I look, it is bizarre. I mean, truly,
I was
the
playing
I feel like the
God of
world is
War.
like ready for it. You know what I mean? Just like Nietzsche always said. There's another thing I was thinking about a lot, where it's like I'm just a tuning fork for the wave of culture. You know what I mean? I'm not special. I'm literally just what needed to happen. It would have happened eventually, and it just happened to be me. And for eternity, this is my place. You know what I mean? The stepping stone of culture. And it's like I feel like we can feel it. We're seeing reality ready for it. They're primed, you know what I mean? They're just waiting for it. And we have to be the ones to turn that stone. But anyway, what were you saying you were playing what was it?
I was playing God of War, and in it they have Yggdrasil, the Tree of Life, and they go into explaining how we're all branches of the Tree of Life, and
That game is
I
so
don't know if you
fucking
remember.
good,
It's
huh?
just it is good. It is good.
That game is
I've been
fucking
playing it
phenomenal.
recently.
Yeah. That's a
Yeah.
great game.
and it's got the giant tree of life, which is a truly beautiful representation of non-duality. And as well, it has in the lore of the elves, and the dark elves, and how they came from the light, and that they will return to the light, and the light is the source of all. And it's like just beautiful stuff. And it was in God of War.
Yeah, next thing I know, I'll be logging on to Apex Legends, and they'll be like, new non-duality event. I
You
mean,
know, the Elder Scrolls Online logo is an Ouroboros.
that's yeah, that is very cool. It was funny. I've played that and I've seen that. So I do know that.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, it really is crazy that Skyrim, the game that started like everything for me, kind of the game that started my fucking self-referential brain. You know what I mean? I started playing that game at like 10 years old. Like when I became a human being is when I started playing that game. You know what I mean? And it's like, of course, it is drenched in non-duality. Like very, 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 very. Of course, it's like a synchronicity, except one that goes backwards in time. You know what I mean? It's like, oh yeah, that's a synchronicity that you figure out 5 years later when you weren't even religious. You know what I mean? It's like that's an insane level of synchronicity. That's kind of an interesting way
Yeah.
to think about it. Of like we are becoming so religiously powerful, we're capable of sending synchronicities backwards in time. You know what I mean? We've built up so much universal tension that we're capable of sending them even backwards. That's an interesting way to think about
Well,
it.
that was like one of Carl Jung's definitions of synchronicities, is there were coincidences that were a causal in time, that they could go backwards and forwards.
Yeah.
But you know, also specifically, two of the biggest um fantasy things ever: Lord of the Rings and Star Wars. Lord of the Rings came from a guy who knew a lot about Christian mythology and theology, and Star Wars came from uh, George Lucas, who was researching Taoism and was getting people on that and to make the Force and stuff like that. And it was like some of the biggest stuff ever came from this stuff in the first place.
Well, that's not shocking at all. I mean, literally, the more you understand it, the more you understand that these divine thought textures are what lead to literally any good thing ever. Literally, and that's another thing about this will to taste is it's like you understand things like would you like to know how to be cool? Like genuinely, just like a very abstract concept like that. Do you know how to want to be a cool person? Oh yeah, we have the key to that. Like, do you want to be like do you want to just make great music? Do you want to make great art? You know what I mean? Well, here you go. It's all of these things. It's like every good thing that humanity has ever done, and it's like even fighting. Like when you study the great fighters, listen to John Jones, watch that John Jones documentary, and think about what they talk about. Think about what the guy talks about. Seriously, watch that John Jones documentary and think about how John Jones talks about his religious
So which
ideas.
one? You sent me like a few of them.
No, no, two of them were Francis and Ngannou. The first one was John
Okay,
Jones. John Jones is
all right,
that's the 3 hour. It's 3 hours long already, and it's still going. Um, and
I
it
see.
is so good. It's such a good documentary. John Jones is such a fucking interesting fighter. He's still undefeated. He's fighting again this December, hopefully. That's what the rumors are. So you're gonna see his fight soon after you watch the documentary. And also, when you listen to him, think about how this guy talked to his religious ideas. And what's funny is the guy who's doing the documentary, he views them as a bad thing. He views them as John Jones' narcissistic traits, which constantly lead him into trouble. But to me, it's like I can also see that yes, on one hand, that is very true. But on the other hand, this is also the reason he was one of the greatest fighters of all time. It's because he literally doesn't even understand the idea of him not being the greatest of all time. He has these divine religious thought textures that God has propelled him into this path specifically to inspire the next generation. That's how this guy thinks. And it's like, it's no wonder he was the fucking champion. He doesn't think like a fucking human being. You know what I mean? He thinks like a god.
I,
And it's like, of course he was that successful. But go ahead.
I would recommend watching the Patty Pimlet video. He did a similar thing where he was talking to a bunch of Marines, and I was saying like listen, bro, I don't care if you're a man or female. I don't care if you've got 7 arms. I'm going to beat you regardless.
Yeah.
And I was just telling you, regardless when he got in the ring, that he was going to win that fight. And is that
Well, yeah.
that has to be a pattern, and
When
the
you look at
patterns are not only in fighting but in life.
any of the successful fighters, I mean, almost all of them have the exact same thing. Interestingly enough, Chael Sonnen is actually one of the exclusions to that. Great fighter, great fighter. Actually beat Anderson Silva for 5 rounds, before Anderson actually beat him, but with a submission. Uh, Crazy fight. But anyways, the point of that is, Chael Sonnen went into every fight like horrifically anxious and just like horrifically neurotic. You know what I mean? Just thinking about
That's
things.
funny because isn't doesn't after wasn't he the one that after the fight was the most narcissistic dude? Like
Yeah,
Joe
yeah.
Rogan, you were talking to me, buddy.
Well, yeah, it was because he's meta. You know what I mean? It's because he understood that he understood the pattern of like why every other fighter thought that, and he was so neurotic that he understood why that was abrasive and like why it got views,